So welcome everyone. I'm Bridget Flaherty. I'm the Director of Global Engagement at the Chicago School. So part of what I do is manage our study abroad programs like this one that you're here to learn about, going to Greece next spring. And I'm joined by Dr. Sitzer and Dr. Lopez, who are the faculty for this program. So what we're going to do is first, I'm going to share a little bit about specific to studying abroad at the Chicago School, information you need to know about registration, the application process, financial aid, things along those lines. And then I will hand it over to them to talk more about the course specifically, the travel itinerary, things you'll be doing while you're there. So if you do have questions throughout, please go ahead and you can unmute yourself and ask them. I'll try to pause. You remember to pause throughout to see if you have any, but you can also put them in the chat and we can answer them as we go along as well. So, to start out with, I do always like to share a little bit of information about the benefits of study abroad. I know you're already thinking about going on a program because you're here, but I think it's helpful to hear some of the ways that it can benefit you by doing these programs. So, this here is it's from a research study that was done by the Institute on International Education. What they looked at is what types of skills students gain by going on study abroad programs, as well as what employers are looking for when they hire, when they promote. And they found that there's a lot of overlap between these two areas. And so what you see here are three groupings of skills that are valued by employers that are things that you can gain by going on study abroad. So in the interpersonal area, it's things like tolerance for ambiguity, adaptability, self-awareness. Cognitive skills are things like problem solving, curiosity, and then interpersonal skills like leadership, teamwork, communication, things along those lines. And one thing that I actually just heard from one of our recent study abroad alumni, who is a clinical psychology student, she mentioned that when she was applying for her internship sites, that every interview they asked her about her study abroad experience that she had included on her resume and on her application. And she really felt like it gave her an edge compared to some other students that hadn't had that kind of experience. So I just thought that that was an interesting thing to hear from one of our students and something that's relevant to you for a clinical psychology study abroad program like this. The other research that I've included here is a recent one that was done that looked at this one was done specifically with students who had majored in business and gone on study abroad programs. And what they found was that students, after they graduated, the ones who had studied abroad, on average earned about $4,000 more in their salary than ones who had not studied abroad. And they found that it was true across the spectrum of achievement. So whether those were A students, B students, C average students, and also regardless of where they studied abroad and what type of program they did, whether it was a short-term program or a longer-term program. And there's also been other research that's been done that has shown similar things in other types of majors and academic backgrounds of students. So just another way that you can see that you could benefit by going on study abroad programs. So now I want to talk a little bit about what's specific to the Chicago School about our study abroad programs and go through each of these areas, starting with the fact that all of our programs are created and led by our faculty. So this program that we're going to talk about today, this was developed by Dr. Sitzer and Dr. Lopez. It's always, all of our programs are current and relevant to issues in the faculty discipline. Most of them are developed for graduate students. This one is developed specifically for clinical psychology graduate students. They all include a service learning project, so a way that you can really immerse yourself more into the local community and give back, as well as making sure that you're helping them out in ways that they might need some of your knowledge and assistance. And then most of our classes, of our study abroad classes, are offered for 3 credits, although there's some that are offered for only 2 credits as well. This one, I believe, is a 3 credit course. Is that right? Yeah. And then all of our programs are developed to have short-term travel. And this is because of our student body, because most of you are full-time students. You might be working part-time or full-time. You probably have some other obligations. Maybe it's childcare, other family obligations, other ways you're involved in your community. So it can be difficult to leave for an entire semester to take that time to travel the way study abroad sometimes is done at the undergraduate level. And so instead, our courses are developed where you would be studying during the semester and then traveling during the last part of it. And so for this course specifically, it would be offered online and you would be studying during the spring one term and then you would be traveling in April. So it's always the travel takes place, excuse me, between the end of classes and before the next term will begin. And they'll talk a bit more about the specifics of the itinerary and what those travel dates are. And then also, we do have financial aid available for study abroad here. Important thing is that you have to first be eligible for financial aid, typically as you would be for your other classes, but also that it has to count towards your degree. So you can only receive financial aid for study abroad courses if it's going to meet one of your degree requirements. And so most of them work where they would meet an elective requirement, something along those lines. And as this is a course that's developed within the clinical psychology department, you would be determining with your faculty advisor or the department chair if this will meet one of the remaining requirements that you have for your specific program. It has to meet the normal rules. It will have an impact on what your total loan limit is. And the most important thing is to discuss this with the financial aid staff. One thing that some of you may have already heard of who receive financial aid is that there are some changes coming up starting July 1st to the way federal financial aid works. And it's possible for most students, it's only if you're starting your program after July 1st, but it is good just to make sure you have that conversation with financial aid to see if any of those changes will affect you and your ability to receive aid for this program. And then if any of you are receiving military benefits from the VA, it's important to talk to the military benefits staff to see what aid you could receive. Typically, if as long as it counts towards your degree program, you can typically receive the military benefits to count towards the tuition to help cover the tuition, but it usually doesn't cover any of the other additional costs, which I'll talk a bit more about. But just so you're aware of that. So really the most important thing to remember is to talk to financial aid and then military benefits if needed. And then also, we do have a study abroad scholarship that's offered out of my department. And this is an option on the application itself. So when you fill out the application, you'll see that there's a question asking if you want to be considered for the scholarship. And if you do, you would check yes. And then you would upload an essay. And there's information about what you need to write the essay about. And you do have to submit the full application for the program with that to be considered for the scholarship. And that deadline is earlier than the application deadline. So September 20th is the deadline if you want to be considered for the scholarship. And that those are for $3,000 a piece. So they can help quite a bit towards the tuition or the other costs of the program. Questions about any of this so far? Okay, I don't see any yet. So just a little bit more about the application process. For all of our programs, we do use the term-based calendar dates, and we have to use the term prior to the one in which it runs. This is because we have to let our study, or the provider we work with in Greece know months in advance if we have enough students to run the course, and then they start confirming all of the reservations for hotels and activities, and we pay them for all of that at that point. So because of that, we have this earlier deadline. So since this is a spring one course, the deadline to apply is October 11th. And I do recommend applying early because some of our courses can fill up, and it's possible that you might end up on a wait list because the applications are reviewed on a first come, first served basis. So just to be aware of that. So you need to apply by October 11th at the latest, unless you want to be considered for the scholarship, and that's that earlier deadline of September 20th. We must have at least 12 students enrolled to run the course. and we will know by October 25th. That's when we know if there's 12 students or more enrolled, and then we would move ahead with confirming everything with the study abroad provider. So you do apply for this online in our global portal, and I'll share some links in the chat once I'm done with this, and I can also email some after the session as well. And so you would go ahead and apply online. It's a pretty simple application process that doesn't take too much time other than the study abroad essay that's additional. And then you should start that conversation with your department to see about the course substitution if it will count towards a specific course that you need for your degree. It's good to start that process early on. And what we do next is my office. We make sure that you meet all the eligibility requirements for study abroad and for the course. And so that includes being an active and degree seeking student, both at the time you apply as well as the time that the course will run. You need to have a minimum cumulative GPA of 3.0 or higher. You cannot have any holds on your account, so academic or financial holds. Sometimes students will have a financial hold on their account, but we'll reach out to you and let you know that that's there and that you need to resolve it before we can move forward with your application. And then you can't have a pending student and community standards hearing, which is basically the student conduct process at the Chicago school. So once we've determined that you meet these requirements, then we are going to let Dr. Sitzer and Dr. Lopez know, share your information with them, and then they're going to reach out to schedule a time to meet with you, talk to you about the program and your interest in it and things along those lines. And then they let us know if you've been accepted to the course, and then we'll notify you of the next steps. So at that point, it's you let us know if you want to go ahead and enroll in the course if you've been accepted. And all of the registration is done by our office with the registrar. So this is a little bit different than other classes because of the eligibility review and the interview process. You can't register yourself for these courses, and you also can't drop yourself from them. So if students register for a course and later change their mind before that add drop deadline, then you need to let us know, and we would be the ones to drop you from the course. So just a little bit more about the cost of the program. There is that the tuition for this course, because it's a 3 credit course, you would be paying 3 credits of tuition at your doctoral level tuition. And then you would also pay the program fee. So for this program, that's this fee that's just under $4,000. And that covers your local hotel while you're there. It covers all of the activities, the tour guide, the entrance fees, the supplemental travel insurance, which I'll talk more about, and other, it usually includes like some different meals that the faculty will cover more of those specifics. But that program fee will be charged to your student account in the same way that tuition is. And so you would see that your charges for spring one would include your tuition and that fee, and you would pay it in the way that you normally pay your student account balance. And then the charges that will be outside of that would be your airfare. Because everyone is traveling from different home cities, we don't book group airfare. You will end up booking your own airfare. And then if you need to apply for, renew a passport, if you need a visa, immunizations, and then your other meals that aren't covered, extra costs like that related to travel are the ones that you should figure in as you're calculating what this will cost. And it's important to note that that program fee is not refundable after October 25th. So that's when we've determined we have enough students to run the course. We're confirming with the provider, and then we're paying them so they can book everything. And so it is non-refundable after that date. And we'll send reminders of that as well when we let you know the next steps in the process. So just a little bit more about financial aid here, that in general, up to this point, that the graduate students have been able to get financial aid to help cover the tuition, the program fee, airfare, and other travel costs. The way it works for the airfare and other travel costs is that you would pay for it first, and then you have to fill out a form and submit receipts for reimbursement to the financial aid office. But as I mentioned, it's possible that some of this may change after July 1st. So please talk to the financial aid staff about your specific circumstances to make sure you know what you're eligible for. Any questions at this point? Okay. So just a few more things. I mentioned the supplemental insurance. That's part of the program fee. This is meant to be in addition to your standard health insurance. It will cover if an emergency happens while you're traveling. If you do need to go to a local clinic or hospital, this would cover you there. If you needed to evacuate the country for some reason, this covers that as well. And typically it works where you would pay out of pocket and then fill out a form and get reimbursed for it. But we send more information closer to travel, so you'll have that and know what to do if something does happen. And it does cover you for up to 7 days before and after the official program dates. So if you did want to spend extra time traveling in Greece, it would cover you during those days. It will not cover you in other countries. So if you're there and you decide to also travel to somewhere else nearby, it's not going to cover you outside of Greece. If you do currently receive any ADA related accommodations at the Chicago school, those would apply the same to this course. But sometimes students need additional accommodations that are related to travel. So it could be something related to if, there's a lot of walking and moving around during the course, if you need extra time to do that or some other type of assistance, if you need a wheelchair or something along those lines, you would want to work with the Office of Student Accessibility to get an accommodation for that, so that then they would work with me, the faculty, and our provider to make sure you have what you need for traveling. Sometimes you might need things like if you have medication that needs to be refrigerated, you need to have a special request to make sure there's a fridge in your hotel room because not every country has those in their hotel rooms the way that the US typically does. Or there could be other things that might come up related to travel. So it's just good to think about that ahead of time and reach out to the Office of Student Accessibility if you need to. And then for any of our programs, we always make sure that it's going to be a safe place for you to travel to. And we will continue to keep an eye on this closer to travel. So if anything changes between now and when the course is going to run and the travel will happen, we'll keep you updated if we, for some reason, have to cancel that. That rarely happens, but it has happened before. And then if also just that you have to be passing the class, while you're in it in order to be able to travel a few days prior to the travel date, you have to have handed in all the assignments, be passing the class. And there's other things that we'll let you know prior to travel that information you need to share, forms you need to fill out just in order to travel. This has quite a few links on it, and I'll be sharing the presentation. I'll email it to everyone as well. And I'll share some of these in the chat too, so you can see where to find this specific program and the application, as well as our website and other information. So that's what I have, unless anyone has any questions, but I'll stop sharing if you want to pull up your slides here.
Richard, I have one question.
Yeah.
So 12 is the minimum, right?
Mhm.
And is there a maximum?
It
How
really
do-
depends. It depends on like by program because, and I'm not sure about yours, but some programs need like to use a shuttle to get students from one location to another, and the shuttle can't fit more than like 18
Sure,
students. And then there'd be a limit because of things like that. And
sure,
if the group gets large enough, we would also have a third faculty member travel with you as well.
sure. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thanks, Bridget.
Yep.
Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Uh, really quiet group here today, and that's
Mhm.
okay. Maybe I could ask you guys maybe to put in the chat what program and campus you're from, because we've opened this up to all of our really clinical programs, I think is what we're focusing on. Um, and while you guys are doing that, maybe I'll introduce myself, and then Dr. Lopez can introduce himself, and then we'll get into some of the content of our presentation. So I'm Dr. David Sitzer. I'm actually the chair of the clinical psychology program here in Los Angeles. Um, I have been with the school for about 18 years now in LA. And to be honest, in full transparency, this is my first study abroad trip. So I am super excited about this. I'm a neuropsychologist by training. I have a small private practice where cognitive rehab is part of it. Cognitive rehab is a course I've taught on ground, and what we've done is we've taken our on-ground class and we've converted it into a study abroad class. That's, I guess, background you probably need on me, Dr. Lopez.
Sure. So I'm Dr. Enrique Lopez, and I've been at the Chicago School for about 4 years. Previously, I've mainly been working in hospital settings as a neuropsychologist. Um, and with a variety of different traumatic brain injuries. I did cognitive rehab with a variety of different individuals who suffered like strokes, um, brain tumors, traumatic brain injuries, and also inpatient, a lot of inpatient psychiatric. Worked with those populations, and then also an area specialty was HIV, when HIV was was important a while back. And currently, right now, I'm mainly teaching the assessment courses and some of the advanced neuropsychology courses.
Thanks. And thank you guys for putting your information in the chat. Looks like we have DC represented here.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
FYI, and you can tell your friends, we'll probably do another one of these. And I think we got the invitation out a little bit late. So I'm wondering that might have affected people's ability to show up. Um, so we'll probably do another one or two of these at least, just to get the word out. We are excited that some students from other programs across the country might be attending with us. We did an on-ground information session a couple days ago, and our students who are interested in attending are actually really excited to be able to meet some students from our other campuses. So that's always an exciting time.
I think one thing I didn't mention is I'm also very excited to attend to this. And I haven't done an abroad program here that now that I started working, but previously in undergrad I did abroad programs, maybe a little smaller, not the whole semester, but I did something like this, like 10 days. I went to what used to be the USSR before 1987, and it really impacted me in terms of understanding the world in a very different kind of perspective. So I really, really support abroad programs.
Thanks. Yeah, really excited about this. Um, all right, so that you guys got to hear a little bit about who we are. Um, this is a bit of an agenda for what we're going to talk about today. We'll talk about the course timeline. We'll go over the fees quickly again because Bridget did a great job of that. We'll talk about the course topics, what we're going to talk about, what we're going to learn about in the course. We'll go over some of the assignments that'll be part of the course. We'll talk about our itinerary, kind of the most exciting thing about the course. Um, and then talk a little bit about the academic and cultural sites we're going to visit while we're there. And then leave time for questions at the end. So our course timeline, this is going to be a blended course. And I don't know how many of you guys have actually done blended courses. We don't offer really any blended courses at our campus. And what that really means is part of the course will be online and part of the course will be kind of in person. And the online portion of the course is actually going to be both synchronous and asynchronous. So there will be an asynchronous part of the course where there's readings for you guys to do and assignments to do and questions to answer and discussion board posts to make to facilitate conversation and discussion and processing of some of the information you're learning. And that'll be supplemented with a couple of live Zoom meetings for the class. What we decided was we were going to do 2 Zoom meetings on Saturdays. So January 4th and February 22nd are going to be our Zoom meeting days.
I kind of have here January 30th.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I
I think at
read
least
the
what it
wrong
says
line?
here.
Oh, I read the wrong line. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay.
The course runs from January 4th to February 22nd. Um, yeah, January 30th and February 13th are going to be our meeting days. We're going to meet for, it says 6 hours a day. We might have to extend it to give you guys a lunch break. But those are the days we're going to do 6 hours of sort of talking about material, lecturing, discussion, live discussions, stuff we would normally do in class, on ground, in person, if this were kind of running in that format. Then also, I don't know what year in the programs you guys are or how DC uses summer sessions. I know in Los Angeles, we do the first half of the summer, summer one, and then students generally get the second half of the summer off. So that's a semester, summer semester that's broken up into what we call 2 terms. The fall and spring semesters are able to be broken into terms as well. And what we're doing with this class is we're really just sort of running the didactic classroom part during the spring 1 term. So it'll just be like during the first half of spring. Then at the end of the spring regular semester, I think a day after the semester, after the last day of classes, we're going to head out to Athens. It says 11 days on here. One of those days is travel to Athens. And then we'll spend 10 days in country, and then you guys can either stick around for a little while. There's about a week in between the end of this study abroad experience and the start of the summer semester. So if you guys want to stick around extra time, that's up to you. Yeah, but we'll end on April 25th. There will be assignments due during the didactic part of the class before we go. There will be assignments due while we were in Greece, and there will be assignments due when we get back. Again, this is a class that we took out. We have a cognitive rehabilitation class that we run on ground typically, and we took that class and we added information about rehabilitation in Greece, Greece culture. So you're going to get everything that you would normally get in our cognitive rehabilitation course, plus how does this work in another country? How does the medical system in Greece and really the EU work? So lots of additional information. But as far as assignments go, it's a real class, and it's a real clinical class, and you guys know those are rigorous. Program fees, as Bridget kind of covered, it's a 3-credit course. It counts as one of your electives. I think everybody gets electives. You guys in DC have emphases, I believe. We have major area of study here. You guys have emphases. So, and I don't know, can you guys tell me, are your electives 2 or 3 credits? Can someone like unmute and tell me that?
Our electives are 2 credits.
2 credits. Okay. So this is going to go 1 credit over. So I'm not 100% sure how that's going to work with financial aid. Several of our programs have 3-credit electives. So you'll have to talk with financial aid and or Dr. Schiff about how this works. And maybe Bridget, I don't know. But I tell our students, it's a 3-credit course. You're going to take an elective for 3 credits anyway. This is just one of those courses. So you're going to pay tuition on that regardless. Then there's the program fee, just under $4,000, as Bridget kind of mentioned, covers accommodations, tours, admission to the different locations that we're going to go to, on-ground transportation, things like that. A few meals. As she mentioned, airfare is going to be, you guys have to cover it because people are coming from all over the country at different times. So we can't really estimate that. Back when Dr. Lopez and I built this class, we took a look at what airfare cost at that time to get over to Greece, around the time we want people to get there. And we found stuff for somewhere between $700 and $1,000. Right now, given the gas war, it probably a lot more, but hopefully that goes back down by the time this trip runs. There's no flying around in Greece that's part of this program, so you guys won't have to buy additional airplane tickets. As Bridget mentioned, make sure you get your passports. There'll be other miscellaneous travel costs. There's going to be food that isn't covered by the program. There's going to be souvenirs and other stuff you guys are going to want to do. There's going to be some downtime, free time during this trip. So you guys are going to want to do stuff during that time. And Bridget talked about how financial aid kind of covers all this stuff, or what parts of it financial aid covers. Let's see where we go with this. Dr. Lopez, did you want to talk? I feel like I'm monopolizing.
No, that's okay. I think I'll add if I feel like something needs to be added, but go ahead.
Okay, great. So some of the topics that the course is going to cover, this is not exhaustive by any means, but we're going to cover evidence-based assessment and treatment for neurological disorders and cognitive dysfunctions all across the lifespan. So we're going to talk about childhood disorders, adult disorders, disorders of older adult, and some things we might be able to do about them. Some of the stuff we're talking about are traumatic brain injury, cerebrovascular disease, MCI, neurodevelopmental disorders. And we're going to focus on rehabilitating some of these cognitive problems, including orientation, attention, learning, memory, executive functioning, etc. And really, when we think about rehabilitation, of these cognitive abilities. We're talking about how can people, maybe we can bring some of these cognitive abilities back online. Maybe we need to work around some of these cognitive abilities in order for people to be able to perform the activities or engage in activities of daily living in a way at the same level or similar to what they were doing before they either sustained an injury or experienced some of these deficits. We're going to spend a bunch of time talking about cultural influences on rehabilitation and assessment. Specifically, we're going to focus on Greece. And then we're going to focus a little bit on the integration of assistive technology to enhance cognitive recovery and functional outcomes. All right, I'll keep going. Any questions so far? Feel free to interrupt me.
I think there's no questions.
What kind of settings might we be kind of exposed to with regard to evaluation and rehabilitation?
Why don't you buckle up for a minute? We will get to that in a couple of slides.
Okay, thank you.
No, great question. Great question. First, let's talk about some of the assignments and what's going to be expected of you guys. So there's this, we'll be doing, before we go, as part of the class, I mentioned there are these sort of reflection posts and online coursework that we'll be doing. So you'll have some assignments due there. So we're going to do a lot of interaction with faculty at a school called the American College of Greece. We've partnered with we're kind of partnering with the American College of Greece. And so we're going to be working and interacting with their faculty and their students. And one of the things we're hoping students get out of this is a little bit of a sense of what it's like to be a graduate student in Greece. So we're going to get a couple of lectures from their faculty. We're going to be giving a presentation to their faculty and students. We're going to be working with their Office of Accessibility to develop some programming for their neurodiverse students. And we're going to be interacting with some of their students. And one of the assignments is actually an interview with their students. So one of the things we want you to get out of this is what it's like to be a student in another country, which I think is really cool. So as part of that, one of their faculty is very involved with the deaf and hard of hearing community and is very involved in assisting that community. So part of this course is going to focus a little bit on rehabilitation constructs as they apply to helping the deaf population. You'll get a lecture on that while we're in Greece. One of the things we'll do, you'll see on one of the upcoming slides, is we're going to go visit the what's it called, the National Center for the Deaf in Greece, which is a model facility to assist folks who are deaf. But getting back to our assignments, there's going to be a paper on rehabilitation psychology among deaf populations. As part of our regular rehab course, we have students develop a rehabilitation program for a cognitive disorder that they can select from. And normally you would give that presentation in the class. What we're going to do is have you guys prepare that presentation before the end of the class. And then we're going to give those presentations as part of a workshop to the faculty and the students at the American College of Greece. So that pre-presentation rehabilitation psychology PowerPoint, that's the preparing that presentation. There are some pre-departure orientation things that need to be done, and there's a global perspectives inventory to see if your attitudes on I'm not sure what change over the course of the program. While we're in Greece, there is going to be we're going to give that workshop deliver that workshop to the faculty and students. One of the assignments is going to be to interview a Greek colleague, one of the students. We're going to get to know them a little bit. We're going to go to lunch with them. We're going to invite them to dinner with us. So hopefully you guys will make some friends. Other caveat to that is the American College of Greece focuses on bringing in students from abroad. So the majority of the students there, I think, are not Greek students. I think they're students from all over the world. So you get to collaborate with, make friends with, build your network globally through this process. That service learning consultation activity is going to be our work with the American College's Office of Accessibility. They just revamped their Office of Accessibility and they're kind of building it up. So we figure by the time we get there, one of the things they would really appreciate is some help building their programming for their neurodiverse students. So we're going to help them out with that. And then attendance, professional comportment. We're going to have, at the end of every day, we're going to gather and kind of review what happened for the day, talk about how what we did, what we saw, what we experienced relates to the material that we've already learned about. So there'll be that kind of stuff, and you'll be rated on your professional comportment, so don't act up. And then after travel, there will be a reflection paper, which is our signature assignment. I think that's an assignment for every study abroad class. And then that global perspectives post-travel inventory. So those are the assignments in the class. Here is our itinerary. This is a sort of real kind of bare bones itinerary or view of the itinerary. If you want to see it in more detail, if you go to the webpage for the study abroad course, the actual syllabus is there that outlines what we'll be doing each day for each stop. So accessibility is something that, especially in a rehab class, we're focusing on. So students will walk somewhere between 1.5 and 6 miles a day. If you need assistance getting around, we're happy to find ways to help with that. Some of the places we're going to visit may be less wheelchair accessible than others. These are sort of historic, really, really old sites. I know they've done a lot to make them accessible, but some just might not. Some might be less accessible than others. So definitely talk to us. We're definitely willing to help out. So day one, we call it day one. That's the travel day. You're going to be traveling all day. It takes all day to get to Greece. You'll get to Greece the day after you leave. And day two is sort of the first day in Greece. We're asking people to arrive kind of by 6-ish, I think, 6 p.m. And we're going to have a welcome dinner. We're going to check in at the hotel. We're going to have a welcome dinner at about, what did we say, 8 o'clock, Dr.
I
Lopez?
think so.
Something like that. I'll check it later. Get settled, get oriented. And then day three is when sort of the programming really starts. We're going to head over to the American College of Greece, go to a lecture, go out to lunch with some of the students, and just sort of integrate into the American College of Greece. Day four, we're going to go to the Acropolis and the Acropolis Museum. A bit of walking around all of the archaeological sites at the Acropolis, a bit of walking through the museum. Getting through the museum is easily accessible. Getting around the Acropolis, some things are accessible. There might be a few things that might not be accessible. So we'll work on all of that with you. Whereas the majority of the cultural centers that we're going to visit are historic sites, we are going to visit one modern cultural center, which is I'm not going to try to pronounce it, the Foundation Cultural Center. While we're there, it's an example of modern Greek culture. There's a bit of a museum. One of the faculty from the American College of Greece said that's a great place to give a lecture. So he's going to give a lecture at the museum, which I think is going to be really cool. And then we'll have some time to explore the grounds. I hear they're beautiful grounds. And then have some time the rest of the day to do kind of your own thing. Day 6 on April 19th is going to be a visit to the National Foundation for the Deaf. We're going to get a tour of that facility. Day 7 is back to the American College of Greece to give our workshop. Day 8 is going to check out the Sanctuary of Apollo in Delphi, where Greek leaders traveled to consult with the oracle to make major political decisions like going to war or not. So we're going to go check that out. That's probably, I think, a 3-hour bus ride from where we are. So that'll be a busy travel day. It's not particularly wheelchair accessible once we get there. So again, let's talk if there's some concerns about that. Day 9, we're going to go check out other landmarks around the city. We're also going to go check out a rehabilitation center and see what goes on there, which is, to me, we don't even do that in our on-ground course. So that's a really cool part of the trip, I think. Day 10 is when we're going to work with the Care Center, which is the Office of Accessibility, and work on that programming for the students, the neurodiverse students. And then because of the relationship between Mediterranean diet and cognitive health, we're going to take a cooking class and learn about the Mediterranean diet and learn how to cook it. So I think that's going to be a fun activity. Also kind of hearing that, if you're going to Greece, you kind of ought to check out a Greek island. So on the last really full day, day 11, we're going to go check out. We haven't decided yet if we're going to do one island or if we're going to take a ferry around to 3 islands. There's like 2 tour options that we're kind of toying with right now. And I've heard pros and cons of either one. We'll nail that down. But I figure we ought to go check out a Greek island. And then day 12 is just have breakfast, meet up, say our goodbyes, and then everybody's either traveling home or travel around the rest of Greece or Europe for whatever you want. Let's see. What else was I going to say? The hotel, we're getting a hotel that has breakfast. So they'll serve like a continental breakfast. So breakfast will be covered. Some of the lunches and dinners will be covered. We'll do a welcome dinner. We'll do a goodbye dinner. We're going to do a lunch at the American College with the students. We're going to do probably, I think it was one other lunch with some of the faculty at the American College and some of our hosts.
And the cooking class too.
And the cooking class you'll get to eat. So those are meals you won't have to pay additional for, but you'll have to pay for the rest of your meals. And you guys are welcome to do, you guys can all go hang out together and do your meals together, and we can all do our meals together and just sort of pay for it separately, or we can split up and see what we're doing for lunches. So here's just some images of some of the academic sites we're going to see: the National Foundation for the Deaf, the American College of Greece, one of the rehabilitation centers that we haven't finalized which rehabilitation center we're going to go to. This is one of the modern rehabilitation centers in Greece. Some of the cultural visits will be obviously to the Acropolis, Monastiraki Square, and I got to work on my pronunciation. The Stravos Narcos Foundation, and I'm sure I just butchered that. Not pictured here is
Temple of Apollo.
Temple of Apollo, yeah, that's the big one that's not pictured here. So those are a lot of the cultural things we're going to do. As an aside, one of the things I would love to try to do, depending on what's going on, is like check out a live show or a play, or something. Just because I think the theaters are supposed to be amazing, the acoustics are supposed to be amazing, so that might be of interest to some people who want to check it out, but not necessarily a required part of the program.
And I think you said in our last talk is that you could just probably throw a rock and anything will be historic in Greece.
Yeah, you could literally throw a rock and hit something historic in Greece, probably quite literally, and probably get in trouble for it.
So don't throw a rock, but
So don't throw rocks.
Just
Don't throw rocks at the historic artifacts. And that's kind of the end of our formal presentation. Dr. Lopez, I don't know if you had anything else to add.
I guess one thing just kind of interesting that, in terms of bringing the Greek culture in there and also the issues about thinking and mental, just thought and psychology, a lot of it kind of originates some of those ideas and cognition and the mind and so on. So I think it's constantly a great opportunity to integrate neuropsychology, cognitive rehabilitation in Greece. That's why I think it might be kind of interesting to explore, the thinking mind.
Absolutely. I'm going to stop my share just because we don't need to take up the screen with that.
Mm-hmm.
Any questions from anybody? From this eerily quiet group.
Is it clear? Does it give you a good sense of what we're planning to do?
It Yes, it does.
Okay.
Thank you for that response.
Might partly be the time difference. It's getting a little later in the
Yeah,
evening.
it's getting later for that.
Mhm.
It's almost 8 o'clock for you guys.
Yeah.
I know thank you for the presentation. This is all really good information. I know you mentioned like meeting with a Greek friend. Can you tell us more about that and kind of learning more about the culture in that way?
So we actually built this study abroad program with one of the faculty at the American College. A lot of this came about. The dean of our college, Dr. Teresa Collins-Jones, went to Greece to give a presentation and ended up talking to a lot of the faculty at the American College. And one of the people she was talking to, um, actually kind of we got friendly with. She introduced him to me. He actually comes to APA conferences. I'll go see him at APA. And to be honest, he actually started running our undergrad program. We hired him to run our undergrad program. So he introduced us to some of the faculty over at the American College in Greece. And I cannot, Dr. Lopez, can you pronounce, do you remember his name?
Yeah, it was a really difficult name to even
Greek
remember
name.
or recall. But we could get all that
Yeah.
information. But
So we're going to get 2 lectures from him. And then we're going to see what other interactions we can get with other faculty. As far as students, what we're hoping is like right from the beginning, you guys are going to be interacting with each other. We're hoping that you guys kind of connect and maybe become friends and you have a connection in Greece and wherever they're actually from. Um, I don't know if that answers your question.
yeah, you know what? The take from me, the way I would maybe describe it, also I think was accurate, but then maybe is that we're going there already with other people we planned it with in a school over there, which is kind of fantastic because they're kind of excited of us going also. So they want us to interact with their students, also their faculty, which is a really amazing opportunity, as opposed to we're going to go in independent, we're doing our own thing, but we're actually interacting with a university in Greece, which I think is exciting.
Yeah, one of the things you, Dr. Lopez, mentioned in our last uh, meeting was we kicked around the idea of even staying in the dorms at the American College of Greece to really help people understand and get a sense of what it's like to be a graduate student abroad in another country. We ultimately decided that we kind of wanted the comforts of a hotel and the convenience of being near the Acropolis and walking distance to all the cultural activity. Um, so we ended up deciding we're going to go with a hotel. But again, like we were really hoping for a lot of integration with these folks. And we're hoping you guys really appreciate that or like that.
That does answer my question. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, good. Yeah, I think it's an opportunity to not just sort of see and experience kind of the culture for culture's sake, but really kind of integrate with people who are there and understand kind of what their life is like that parallels yours.
And it'd be also interesting to understand their system, more healthcare that's actually more social, kind of like in terms of how it might be different from the US also. The EU versus the US in terms of providing healthcare or receiving healthcare.
Yeah. Anybody else curious about anything?
I'm so sorry. I do have another question.
Sure,
Please don't
let's go.
apologize.
Let's go.
Okay.
Answering questions is one of my favorite things.
This is more of a practical thing for like fees and stuff. So it seems like it's charged to our student account, so it would be covered by loans. I know is that understanding accurate or I know
Yeah,
July 1st. Yeah.
in general, yes. But that's part of what I'm still trying to figure out with financial aid, what's going to change with that new everything that's changing on July 1st. And so that it's best just to talk to them so you can confirm for sure what it would do. But the way it's typically worked for students is that they would have loans covering the program fee that's charged to their student account. And then it's the extra costs like the airfare and other things that you would pay for first and then submit a form and receipts to get reimbursed for.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Good
Okay.
questions.
And actually had a question myself because we didn't know how to answer. And you brought it up a little bit. Is the scholarship? There's a few opportunities for scholarships.
So we have scholarships. We have a few that are available for each semester. So like
Okay.
we have four $3,000 scholarships in the spring that so anyone who's applying for a spring study abroad program can apply for the scholarship. And then there's a committee that reviews those and selects four winners out of that. And we let students know ahead of like the final deadline. So if you're depending on it, if you're like, I can only do this program if I get a $3,000 scholarship, you will know before you have to, make the final decision to go.
That's really helpful.
Mhm.
Anything else before we wrap up?
I have a question about what the synchronous class days will look like. If you could speak more to what that would look like. I know you mentioned a little bit earlier about how it's going to be discussions and kind of discussing the topic, but if you could speak more about what that would be like.
Sure. So the way we envision it, because we haven't done it yet, is probably a lot like COVID Zoom school. At least that's the way I think about it, is lectures that we would normally give, activities that we would normally run in class. We could try to run some of those over Zoom. What else? We could break out into breakout sessions to let people kind of have conversations among themselves. Just sort of a regular Zoom class is kind of what I'm thinking. Really long Zoom class, but a Zoom class.
Yeah, because it's 2 days. It's a Saturday, and it's 6 hours about, right, in terms of lecture time or activities, that we're all in a Zoom meeting. And Dr. Sitzer and I would lead those. And
Oh, sorry.
no, that's it.
The reason for that is so that we can make this accessible to students across the country. We decided to do them on Saturdays because none of you guys are going to have classes, and most of you are not going to have practicum on Saturdays, although I actually do have a student who has a Saturday practicum. So we just wanted to make it more accessible to folks. We need to have some of that. In the clinical program, we don't do fully asynchronous anything. So we just wanted you guys to have access, and it's just going to be like we're doing right now, except we're going to require you to be on camera.
Got
And
it.
then,
Oh, I'm
I'm
sorry.
sorry. Go ahead, finish.
No, I was just gonna say thank you, but
Oh,
feel free to please add.
yeah. And then, you do get the 3 unit credit because there's going to be then activities in Greece to add to those hours in terms of lecture and so on. But we're going to do some of it before we go.
Gotcha. Thank you so much.
Yeah, we have a lot of information to cover, and a lot of that will just be covered with your reading and the assignments that you're doing. Some of it will be covered during those Zoom meetings, and then some of it will be covered in Greece. Great questions.
Mhm.
And you can always contact us, afterwards if you think of something later on you didn't ask. And I will share the slides, as well as a link to the video probably tomorrow once I have that up, as well as like the link to the application itself if you want to